The Man with the Twisted Lip, страница 64. "Let me introduce you," he shouted, "to Mr. Neville St. Clair of Lee, in the county of Kent. Never in my life have I seen thing like that." The man's face peeled off under the sponge like the bark from a tree. The brown dirt was gone. Gone, too, was the horrible scar which had ran across the face, and the twisted lip which had given it such terrible look. A twitch brought away the red hair, and there, sitting up in his bed, was a pale, sad-faced, refined-looking man, black-haired and smooth-skinned, looking around with sleepy confusion. Then, suddenly realizing what had happened, he screamed and threw himself down with his face to the pillow. "Great heavens!" cried the inspector. "It is indeed the missing man. I know him from the photograph." The prisoner turned with the careless look of a man who obeys his destiny. "Be it so," said he, "and tell me, please, what am I charged with?" Страница 65. Takes the cake, превосходит все. "With making away with Mr. Neville St. Oh, well, you can't be charged with that," said the inspector with a smile. "Well, I have been 27 years in the police, but this really takes the cake. If I am Mr. Neville St. Clair, then no crime has been committed, and so I am detained illegally." "No crime, but a very great mistake has been committed," said Holmes. "You'd better have trusted your wife." "It was not the wife, it was the children," cried the prisoner. "God help me, I would not have them ashamed of their father. My God, what can I do?" Sherlock Holmes sat down beside him on the couch and patted him kindly on the shoulder. "If you leave it to a court of law to clear the matter up," said he, "of course you can hardly avoid publicity." Страница 66. "God bless you. Да благословит вас Господь. On the other hand, if you prove to the police authorities that there is no possible case against you, I do not know the reason that the details should find their way into the papers. Inspector Bradstreet would, I'm sure, make notes upon anything which you might tell us and give it to the proper authorities. The case would then never go into court at all." "God bless you," cried the prisoner patiently. "I would be ready for the prison, yes, even for the execution, but I'd never have left my miserable secret as a family blot to my children. You are the first who have ever heard my story. My father was a schoolmaster in Chesterfield, where I received an excellent education. I traveled in my youth, worked on the stage, and finally became a reporter on an evening paper in London. One day my editor wished to have a series of articles upon begging in London, and I decided to write them." Страница 67. "There was the point from which all my adventures started. I could get the facts from my articles only by trying begging myself. When I was an actor I had, of course, learned all the secrets of making up, and had been famous in the green room for my skill. So I painted my face, and to make myself as pitiable as possible I made a good scar and fixed one side of my lip in a twist with the help of a small piece of plaster. Then, with a red wig and suitable dress, I chose my place in the business part of the city, uh, ostensibly as a match seller, but really as a beggar. For 7 hours I sat there, and when I returned home in the evening, I found to my surprise that I had received no less than um, 26 S4D. I wrote my articles and forgot about this matter until some time later I had to pay £25 to beg a friend. I had no idea where to get the money, but a sudden idea came to me. I asked for a holiday from my employers and spent the time in begging in the city. In 10 days I had the money and had paid the debt. Страница 68. Well, you can imagine how difficult it was to get back to hard work at £2 a week when I knew that I could earn as much in a day by changing my face with a little paint, laying my cap on the ground and sitting still. It was a long fight between my pride and the money, but the dollars won at last, and I gave up reporting and sat day after day in the corner which I had first chosen, inspiring pity by my ghastly face and filling my pockets with coins. Only one man knew my secret. He was the keeper of a low den in which I used to lodge in Swindon Lane, where I could every morning appear as a dirty beggar, and in the evenings transform myself into a well-dressed man. This fellow Alaska was well paid by me for his rooms, so that I knew that my secret was safe. Well, very soon I found that I was saving big sums of money. I did not mean that any beggar in the streets of London could earn £700 a year, which is less than I got, but my power of making up and also my wit, improved by practice, made me a recognized character in the city. All day a stream of pennies, varied by silver, poured in upon me, and it was a very bad day in which I couldn't take £2. As I became richer, I became more ambitious, took a house in the country, and married without anyone knowing about my real occupation. My dear wife knew that I had business in the city. She little knew what. Last Monday I had finished for the day and was dressing in my room above the opium den when I looked out of my window and saw, to my horror, that my wife was standing in the street with her eyes fixed upon me. I gave a cry of surprise, threw up my arms to cover my face, and running to the Lascar, asked him to stop anyone from coming up to me. I heard her voice downstairs, but I knew that she could not pass. Quickly I threw off my clothes, pulled on those of a beggar, and put on my paints and wig. Even a wife's eyes could not recognize me, but then it occurred to me that there might be a search in the room, and that the clothes might betray me. I opened the window, reopening by my force a small cut which I had inflicted upon myself in the bedroom that morning. Then I took my coat, which was weighted by the coins, threw it out of the window, and it disappeared into the Thames. The other clothes would have followed, but at that moment I heard the steps of constables up the stairs, and a few minutes after I found, rather I confess to my relief, that instead of being identified as Mr. Neville St. Clair, I was arrested as his murderer. I do not know that there is anything else for me to explain. I wanted to remain in my costume as long as possible, and that's why I preferred to keep a dirty face. Knowing that my wife would be terribly anxious, I took off my ring and gave it to the Lascar at a moment when no constable was watching me. Страница 71. Together with a hurried note telling her that she had no cause to fear. That note only reached her yesterday, said Holmes. Good God, what a week she must have spent. The police have watched this Lascar, said Inspector Bradstreet, and I can quite understand that he might find it difficult to post a letter unobserved. Probably he handed it to one of his customers who forgot all about it for some days. That was it, said Holmes. I have no doubt of it. But have you never been prosecuted for begging? Many times, but what was a fine to me. It must stop here, however, said Bradstreet. If the police are to hush this thing up, Hugh Boone should disappear. I swear it. Then I think that it is probable that no further steps may be taken. But if you are, good God, о Боже, to hush this thing up, замять это дело, found again, then all must come out. I'm sure, Mr. Holmes, that we are very much indebted to you for having cleared the matter up. I wish I knew how you reach your results. I reached this one, said my friend, by sitting upon 5 pillows and smoking tobacco. I think, Watson, that if we drive to Baker Street, we'll just be in time for breakfast.